I'm going to use a little bit of the Mega Glip. Okay, the Neo Mega Glip from Gambling. You guys can use turpentine. The reason I'm using it is because when I started here, the canvas is very rough and I had a hard time smearing the paint on it. Okay, so I'm picking out a real cheapo brush. I've already started, there's basic still life setup. I've sort of started the underpainting already. And what I did is I took a little burnt sienna and I sort of sketched it in. You can see I'm going to actually sketch in, start putting in a little bit of the, use a little bit of the Mega Glip. I'm going to actually start putting a little bit of the value pattern in. And you see I'm scrubbing it in. The reason I'm using a cheap brush is I'm actually scrubbing it in. And I can actually get a nice sort of value pattern as I thin the paint. I spread it out and thin, and I actually can get a continuous value pattern from the dark side of the
Are you worrying about the highlights right now?
No.
Okay.
The last thing we're going to worry about are the highlights. The last thing we put in the painting with this technique are the highlights. We work from dark to light. Okay, so I'm actually working up some of the darks right now, and I'm actually trying to work up some of the value pattern. Let me put a little value pattern in on this.
Say that again. You work from the dark to the light.
Yeah. With oil paints or acrylics, you always work from dark to light. With pastels, most people work from dark to light. With watercolor, it's the other way around. You work from light to dark. So the last thing we're going to put in on this little setup, this little painting, are the lights, the highlights. And I'm probably going to put them in with this, because I want the highlights to be really, really thick, and I'm probably going to put them in with a palette knife. Okay, but you're not going to see me use this thing until the very end. And again, I don't use this to mix paint on the canvas. I mix the paint with the brush, or I mix it on the canvas, because I want the pigment particles not to be completely. I want them to be actually separated a little bit from the different pigment particles to be separated a little bit, so I don't dull the paint down too much. Remember, what we have to worry about with oil paint or acrylic paint or any color is basically the intensity, which is the brightness or dullness, the value, dark or light, the hue, which is the color, whether it's red, yellow, or blue, or whatever. The coverage, basically how the paint goes on, whether it's opaque. I'm using burnt sienna, which is opaque. I'll be using ultramarine blue and a little shortly to darken some of the darks on the dark side of the vases and goblets there, and that's transparent. And also whether the color is warm or cool. This is a warm color because it's towards the orange, and the ultramarine blue, although it's a warm blue, is cool compared to the burnt sienna. So I'm actually going to just use those two colors today to do this underpainting.
Do you always start with the back object first or not? And still?
No, what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and move around. I try to work the whole canvas up at once. So you're going to see me sort of move around, and I'm actually going to go in and sort of darken all the dark sides, and see how as I thin it out, I actually get the value change going from dark to light, and I'm doing this pretty fast. And I'm using normally I use turpentine. I'm using a little Neo Mega Glip with the turpentine because this canvas is very rough. I'm having a hard time. I had a hard time putting the paint on it. You notice that's pretty dark right there. I'm just going to block that in real quickly. And because I'm keeping the paint really thin, I'm just sort of, it's like a stain almost, and I'm just rubbing it into the canvas. It'll dry probably, even though this is oil paint, it'll probably be dry within the next, when I do the next painting session, probably within an hour or so. You see, now I've already established, I'm getting the value pattern here already. Even though I've done very little so far, Okay, so I've already got a value pattern on. And again, the light's coming from the left, and you can actually see just by thinning the paint down, I've actually gone from essentially the dark side of the vase and the chalices to the light side, and I've already got sort of a value pattern emerging. And again, I'm lighting this from one side. I'm trying to give you guys something that's like, I don't want to give you multiple light sources. I just want one single light source. And in the next session, I'm going to go in with ultramarine on top of what I just did here and darken it even some more. And I'm also gonna basically go in and darken the background, but I'm not gonna do that yet. Okay, let me just show you a little bit with the ultramarine. So this is ultramarine blue, which is it's a warm blue. It's one of the primaries, but it's transparent. Now what I could do now is I can actually go in and darken this some more just by overlaying the ultramarine blue over the burnt sienna. Okay, you can see it's actually going towards a gray. So I'm actually darkening, I can darken the side of the vase a little bit more. And this is very thin. I'm putting very thin amount of ultramarine blue on. Now this is actually much darker, so I'm going to actually go in a little heavier here. If you look inside that goblet, it's pretty dark, so I'm going to make that a little darker. Okay, I can make this side a little darker. Again, you see I'm just glazing it in, scumbling it in. Cheap brush, so I could basically, you know, not worry about destroying the bristles because I'm rubbing so hard. Okay. Okay, Nick, cut it.